Related party transactions. Let us recap on related party transactions. They are normal, they are commonplace, but they must be disclosed to give a complete picture, an understandable picture, because we've got nothing to hide, we are ethical, they can affect, and we must disclose. Now that is all we are doing. There is no debit, there is no credit, there is no change to the P&L or balance sheet. You are simply disclosing the fact we sold goods to a subsidiary for 500,000. That is what you are disclosing. It's a simple disclosure of the transaction, of the nature of the transaction, of the amount of the transaction. You're not making a judgment as to whether it's the right or wrong number. That's too subjective. Who are related? There is in the relationship control, joint control, influence, or common control. So that means other members of the group. That means, your shareholders who can influence. Key management. Key management including, relatives. Close family members. Let's turn to page 85. Let's have a look briefly at the Alpha Group. Let's turn to page 85 and Alpha Group. Identify the related party relationships for each of the entities within the Alpha Group. The Alpha has a parent company called Alpha, two directly owned subsidiaries, a directly owned associate. Oh dear, I've got a headache. When the new syllabus was introduced, and I'm going back about 7 years now, I thought related parties was going to be a big topic. And I used to tick related parties quite hard in the early days. And that was because when you look at question number 1, quite naturally, question number 1 is about group accounts. And question number 1 has the ethical angle in the group accounts. And so I always used to think that what he would do at question number 1 is, obviously you have a natural group structure in question number 1, and then there's an accounting issue on the back of it. And I always thought, what a natural accounting issue, it would be related party transactions. And maybe identifying who's related to who, also then picking up on the idea that they maybe don't want to make the disclosures because they've got something to hide, and not making the disclosures would somehow be unethical because it would be showing a lack of competence that they've got, they're unaware of their requirement to do so, maybe a lack of integrity if those transactions are dodgy. It's never come up. It's never been that question at question number 1, and I gave up really tipping it. But the examiner recently wrote an article on related parties, which is in your material, and therefore I am rebadging related parties as a topic that I will specifically do again on revision. Yeah, because it hasn't been examined of late. It's a small standard. It's an under-examined standard. It's not a big key issue, but the examiner has, for whatever reason, taken the time and trouble recently to write an article on it, and you have that article in your notes, and that will inspire me, therefore, to revisit the topic on revision. I cannot understand the words when they're written down, but I do understand this diagram. It makes my life a lot easier. I am alpha, I am the parent. Now, I think I'm related to everybody. I'm related to B because it's a sub. I'm related to D because it's my associate. So I have control, I have influence, I have control, I have control. Yeah? If my subsidiary has a subsidiary, that is my subsidiary. So on the same basis, if my subsidiary has an associate, that is my associate too. So if I'm A, I'm related to my subs, I'm related to my associates. I'm also related to G. Yeah? Because I have joint control over G. Who am I not related to? Yeah, H. Yeah? No one's related to H. Well, the only person that H is related to here is G. Yeah? So G and H are related to each other, respect, fine, no problem. But H is not related to anybody else. So there's a couple of things that we've already learned there. Alpha, the parent, is related to the subs, B, C, and E, control, the associates, D and F, because of significant influence, the joint venture, G, because of joint control, and alpha is not related to its fellow joint venturer is not related to its co-investor, is not related to G, a co-investor in G. In other words, is not related to H. Related party relationships are reciprocal. Related party relationships are reciprocal. In other words, if alpha is related to the sub, then by definition the sub is related to alpha, so I'm not going to start repeating myself too much.
So, what does the last line mean?
Probably not spelled correctly. Reciprocal. Reciprocal. Are we familiar with that word? How would you spell reciprocal? Is it the correct spelling?
Spelling is correct.
Yeah, I never know about spelling. I never know about spelling. I struggle with my own language. Yeah. Je parle un petit français, but c'est possible pour moi parler le français. Aujourd'hui, il fait du soleil. Très bien. Comprenez-moi quand je parle le français? Oui. Très bien.
Oui. Oui, oui.
C'est bon. C'est bon. I can speak a little bit of French, but I can't spell French. I can't spell English very well either. So a reciprocal arrangement, yeah, is a two-way street. Yeah? By definition, a related party relationship is a two-way street. If I have said alpha is not related to H, then I'm not going to waste my breath by saying H is not related to alpha. If I have said that alpha is related to its sub, when I start to consider the sub, I'm not going to say the sub is related to alpha, because it's just like repetition. So there's a limit to my patience. We've got to look at the number of marks available.
Okay.
For associate D, for associate,
So I'm looking at associate. So I've looked at it first of all from the perspective of alpha. So let me look at it from someone else's perspective and take it all the way through. But if I'm looking at it purely from alpha's point of view, alpha does influence the associate. So there's no doubt about that relationship. And alpha also does able to influence F. So there's no doubt about that. But let's look at it from someone else's perspective. We've looked at it from alpha's perspective. Let's have a look at it from a sub's perspective. Let's have a look at it from a sub's perspective. And let's choose a sub, and we'll call the sub B. So if I am sub B, well, we already know that sub B is related to alpha. I'm not going to write that down. Is sub B related to sub C? Are B and C related, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, because they're members of the same group, they're subject to common control. So B is related to its fellow subsidiaries, B is related to C, B is related to E, because they are under the common control of alpha. Is the sub related to the associate? The sub and the parent are as one entity. The sub and the parent are as one entity. So the parent controls the sub and the parent influences the associate. That means the sub is related to the associate. So the sub and the associate are related. On the same logic, the sub and the joint venture are related, but obviously not H. So the sub... The sub is related to, brackets, in addition to the parent, yeah, it's fellow subs. It's fellow subs because it is subject to joint control. The associates DNF, because there is influence because they're members of the same group. The joint venture G, because there is joint control, yeah, but not H. So we've looked at it from the perspective of B, we've looked at it from the perspective of a sub. Finally, let me have a look at it from the perspective of an associate. Let me have a look at it from the perspective of the associate, which is D. Let me have a look at it from the perspective of D. So the associate D is related to, in addition. Well, I've already said that D is related to alpha, and I've already said that D is related to the subsidiary, and the subsidiary, and the subsidiary. Would D be related to G? Yes, because you've got that control going on there, So G is related to the D, is related to the associate, it's related to the joint venture. So the joint venture, get it the right way round, G, yeah, which is the joint venture company because there is joint control, So you would have, yeah, the associate alpha controls G, so is able to tell basically G what to do. So if G is transacting with D, then you've got that relationship going. The only other thing we haven't talked about is the two associates. If there's common control, then I'm fine, but two associates, they are not related. So it is not related to the fellow associate. It is not related to the fellow associate F, and it is not related, of course, to H. It is not related to H. A little bit of a mechanical question. You know, if it comes up, one of the things I think you would be talking about is, you know, why you would make a related party disclosure. And that's a common question, or that's a reasonable question to be asked. And what that related party relationship is comprising. And it's about control, joint control, common control, or significant